Some believe that the first mutant was born thousands of years ago. He was some kind of god, and he's going to rise again. He always had 4 followers.
Like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
I've never felt power like this before.
So, given that it's such a sprawling cast, and nobody is shortchanged at all, everybody gets their moment, I wonder, is that a challenge? Are you used to it because you've done it before with Future Past? So what's your process for such a big cast?
Well, it began, I think, when I made Usual Suspects many years ago. Big ensemble, well, relatively big ensemble, bouncing back and forth in time. And so with here, I've just sort of developed a knack for it. In fact, I like it. It gives me more things to around people, more characters to cut to, more story. So it's kind of a challenge, but it's also fun to bring them together. But it's a skill set that I've developed from a long time ago with that film, I think.
Anyone in particular, because you've done these characters before, but not in this way. So anyone in particular you were more excited about to sort of explore them again in a different way on screen?
Well, again, obviously taking the characters we saw last time, Jen, Nick, James, and Michael, and putting them in completely different places than they were before in X-Men Days of Future Past. So beginning the movie with them all shuffled about and seeing where they end up. Number one. Number two, the new cast. I was so excited to bring these new characters in: Ty, Sophie, Cody, and Lana, and everybody. And Alex Shipp, because I had worked with the older versions of those characters so many years ago. Not physically much older, but like just, the mature, developed version of those characters. So now I got to bring in a whole new batch of like the same characters, but in completely different moments in their lives before they were formed, before they had evolved. So that was exciting. The other thing is Apocalypse. He's a very different character. Oscar Isaac is a tremendous actor. And Apocalypse makes no distinction between mutants and humans. He's not like Magneto in that way. He's an ancient mutant, so I got to play with the history, ancient history, and he accumulates powers. So, and besides all that, he's incredibly persuasive, and he looks really cool. So that was a really fun character to explore with Oscar.
So one of the things I think that set the X-Men movies apart, particularly the ones that you've directed, is the sort of, you get the spectacle, they're entertainment, well done, but the thematic is really rich. So I wanted to ask you about that. Sort of what comes first? Do you know which themes you're going to explore once you have the script, or how does that work? It's sort of the chicken and the egg question, I guess.
Well, I always start with the central theme of the X-Men universe, which is tolerance and understanding the different, those who are different. And in this movie, Jean Grey, for instance, is discovering that she is different from other mutants. She feels separated. So there's
being set apart.
Persecution,
Yeah,
something
there you go.
within a persecuted community or potentially persecuted community. And there's the idea that now, because the future has now been changed since the previous movie, so now mutants are accepted. So where Charles has an idealistic view of this acceptance, Raven, the Jennifer Lawrence character, has seen the darker side of it. Just because the slaves are free doesn't mean it's one big love fest.
It's a more subtle way of prejudice.
Exactly,
in a sense,
and so that theme has run constant. It run in any good X-Men based movie, Deadpool included. It's there. So you start with that, and that grounds the movie and makes it something more than just a flippant comic book movie or a revenge story or something like that. It gives it some weight.
Okay, so I know you're used to topping yourself, but the Quicksilver and Days of Future Past is incredible. So how much pressure did you feel of taking it to the next level? Because it's fantastic.
Oh, thanks. Quicksilver scene was extremely complex and took about a month and a half to shoot, 2 minutes of footage. It involved every kind of visual effect imaginable, explosive algorithms, CGI effects, and also shooting with super high-speed phantom cameras that were 3D, moving in blast shields at 80 miles an hour through explosions.
Nice.
So when you look at the footage, the raw footage, you can actually see flaming books flying by slow enough to read the text.
A chapter.
Yeah, pretty much. And Evan Peters personally worked 17 days on that one sequence, and that made him the longest running or working actor on the whole movie.
Wow. Well, pleasure talking to you.
You too.
All right, bye.